The security of air transport is defined by ICAO as the protection of civil aviation against unlawful acts. This is accomplished by a combination of procedures and by human and material means. This term is not to be confused with aviation safety, which represents a set of measures aiming to mitigate the risk of accident or incident. More generally, security prevents malicious acts when there is intention to harm. It is made up of a set of procedures or preventative measures for weapons, explosives, or other equipment that could be carried and used to perpetrate an intentional and malicious act on board. The organization in charge of security might be carried out by different actors, representatives of the government such as the police, customs or army, or private companies such as airlines, air carriers, airport operators, or security providers in charge of filtering and checks before boarding. History has shown that the aviation sector appears to be a favorite target by terrorists. A set of measures has been put into place in order to reduce the number of terrorist acts in the aircraft. However, it is since the 11th of September 2001, date of the World Trade Center and Pentagon attacks, that a new threat appears. For the first time, the aircraft was used as a weapon of mass destruction. It was the first attack where there were more victims on the ground than passengers. In fact, air transport security measures and procedures represent the responses to previous attacks or attempted terrorist attacks such as Pan Am Flight 103, which exploded in Lockerbie's sky on 21st of December 1988, or the plan to use explosive liquid on several flights to the United States on 10th of August 2006. There are two main areas in an airport, the city side and the runway side. These two areas need to be separated by a physical barrier. The city side area is composed of public car parks for passengers and public terminal access, including roads and lanes. The runway side area represents the parts of the terminal after inspection filtering, runway and taxiway sectors, parking spaces for aircraft, and finally, CNS installations. The runway side zone is divided into two parts. First, a security restricted access zone, and within it, the critical part. These areas are separate and accessible only by checkpoints. Each area is accessible by different filtering rules. As we can see from this diagram, the runway side area is accessible only to staff holding an airport circulation badge. For SRAZ access, inspection filtering might be operated randomly, but access is still regulated by badge verification and ID control. Then, for the critical part, inspection filtering is mandatory and must also go through access control. Inspections are not only limited to passengers. Any member of staff authorized to enter critical areas may represent a potential hazard to the security of air transport. Police and intelligence services are used to carrying out investigations on people who apply for access to critical areas. The first level of filtering is to identify people who could be potentially dangerous. The second level of filtering is to prevent any prohibited object transportation by staff who might act under duress. This is the reason why airport personnel must undergo a systematic inspection of identification and equipment transported. Inspection filtering is actually an implementing technical and human means to detect any prohibited items on people or transported equipment. As we saw in the previous video, it is mandatory for both vehicles and people to enter critical areas. Staff must remove their jackets, coats, laptops, and professional equipment. Each item is inspected separately. The security officer can ask anyone to remove any other metallic items. Staff must then pass through a metal detector portico. If there is any doubt after this, staff must undergo a palpation. This could be also done at random selection. A visual check is also undertaken by security officers. Vehicles must be empty of any occupant for this inspection. Multiple security measures proposed by ICAO also involve prohibited objects which cannot be transported in the cabin or in the luggage hold. Firearms, stun guns, sprays, sharp objects, explosives, or flammable substances and devices are prohibited for passengers as well as for staff on runway side areas. Objects with an acute tip or a sharp edge are prohibited for passengers and also for staff. Tools such as drills, blowtorches are also prohibited to passengers. Since the attempted attack on 10th of August 2006 in London, passengers have no more right to carry liquids, gels, or aerosols exceeding 100 milliliters per unit and 1 liter in total. All these products are allowed in the hold. It is also possible to buy products exceeding 100 milliliters in the duty-free zone, but they must be accompanied by a sealed bag, security tamper evident bags, and proof of purchase. There are two types of sectors on each circulation badge: the functional sector and security sector. For the functional sectors, NAV means access authorization to the control tower and the technical block. MAN for maneuvering areas, runways and taxiways. ENE for climatization and energy power supply areas or fire installations. TRA traffic areas. 5-star means full to all functional areas. For the sectors of safety, A means access authorization near the aircraft. B for baggage areas. F for cargo or freight areas. P passenger areas. On an airport, there are several categories of circulation badges. Each category is identified by a specific color: red, blue, green, yellow, etc. This codification allows police authorities to recognize easily who is cleared to enter in each area. For example, in France, a red badge represents permanent authorization, requesting systematically a clearance and a validity date. This badge is delivered after formal identification and investigation by state authority. Using other colors, some of them allow access only to functional sectors, excluding security or critical areas. There are also temporary badges where you need to be accompanied by another member of staff. They allow going into regulated or critical areas, and they are used to having a limited lifespan. These badges are issued by the relevant state departments to people who are not involved in regular activity on the platform. Then, a last category of badges concerns people with clearance working on several airports. For example, technicians or engineers at SEP who are in charge of installation and/or deployment of CNS and ATM systems or equipment. Airport traffic requirements for badge holders are simple: to be subject to the control of ID badge, to be able to present a document certifying identity, to be subject to inspection filtering procedure, to wear the badge visibly at all times. The competent authorities can pronounce a criminal or administrative fine or suspend the badge for a period of time or indefinitely. This sanction is decided after legal procedures defined by the state.